welcome to Meet Me in the Kitchen. My name is Connie Spiros, and I always tell you I am your host for 30 minutes of what I hope will be good cooking. And the only way I know that is if you let me know. So on this show, you're going to see lots of food being made. You're going to not smell how great it smells, but you'll know whether you want to make the recipe again. And I hope you do make the recipe again. But if you make it, look at the email that will be listed at the end of the show, cdspiros@comcast.net, and send me a message and tell me you loved this recipe or tell me what you did to change it. That's part of cooking as well. So we are doing weeknight meals today, and we are making I'm here by myself, so I'm making 3 meals, and they are fast meals, and 2 out of the 3 are really fast. Like 20 minutes, you can have dinner on the table. The first one I'm starting with, not so quick. But I can talk to you a little bit along the way about how you can cut back on some of the time. But all of these meals can be made when you come home from taking the kids to soccer or baseball or football or whatever, when you come home from work and you have very little time. You may need to do a little bit of prep with this particular recipe, but let's get started. So I've made for you fish and vegetables in a stew or soup before. This is a little tweaked version. I really love this recipe and I use it all year round because fish is available all year round. What I'm starting with is carrots, or are carrots, and I'm going to tell you what the recipe is made for. It is actually for 6 to 8 people, because you're going to want to make this, share it with friends, have people over, use it for your family, or have leftovers, which I love when I'm working. So we've got 3 cups of carrots sliced, and I've been cooking these in advance because I wanted to keep things moving along, because this recipe does take a little bit of time. I'm going to put the heat back on. You want these carrots to cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. They are typical little coins of carrots, and I think it was about 4 or 5 pretty good sized carrots that made this. Peel them, slice them, get them in here, or buy them at the grocery store already cut, and that would be fine too. To that, we are adding 3 cups of onions. And what I did with these onions, which is a real time saver, is you just basically cut them in half and then slice them, and they can be chunky, because what's better than a nice sweet piece of onion and carrot with your stew? So let me get the heat going on here. We're going to add to this the onions and the carrots. Oh, and let me just mention, you want to sort of break up the onions pretty quickly so that they get to cook nice and evenly. You don't want any chunks of carrots that are not as well cooked as the rest. So we're going to get this up to the top. And I always tell you, when I use my cooktop here, it's never as fast as what it will be at home. So you'll know that it won't take that long. We're going to take, again, 3 cups of zucchini. These are just cut into little chunks here. They sell them at the grocery store. Again, we're very lucky that our grocery stores have so many vegetables already cut up for you, so you don't have to really worry about that. And the last of the vegetables includes 12 ounces of mushrooms. Now, I use white and creminis, which are the baby bellas, which I love, the flavor of these, but I like to put the 2 of them in there because some people are kind of put off by, you know, one kind of mushroom, who knows, or another. I don't worry about that too much, but I do like to make sure people like what they're eating, because as we always know, you eat with your eyes first, and then you eat with your stomach, and you enjoy the food. So this is going to cook here for about 5 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to talk to you about the rest of the ingredients, and I will stop turning this around so that they actually sit there. I'm going to make sure they're on high. I'm actually going to put the cover on here so that they cook more quickly. Oh, you know what I wanted to show you? I found this in my cupboard. It's this little, I thought it was a bag clip, but it's not. It goes on the end of your pan, and your spoon fits in it. I'm a gadget girl, you know that, so I just love that. I know it's kind of strange, but it seems to me anything that helps you not have to put this down places is not a bad thing. Okay, the rest of the ingredients, I want to talk to you a little bit about what I started with in there. I started with a half a stick of butter, that's 4 ounces. I always use unsalted butter because I want to add the salt myself. So I used unsalted butter, 4 tablespoons, half a stick. I used 1 tablespoon of olive oil. I love this olive oil, it's California olive oil. I know it's from the United States and everybody says, oh, get your olive oil from Spain or Greece or Italy or whatever. This is really good stuff. I like it light. I don't like really heavy extra virgin olive oil. This for me really works, so I use that. We are also going to add, one of the things that I love about this recipe is that it has mustard in it. And I'm using what I call an interesting mustard. It's just a Dijon, but a ground Dijon mustard. We're going to use some half and half and some white wine. And so I'm going to tell you the ingredients now because I'm going to add them in a couple of seconds here. I have, let's see here, I have, where is it? Oh, half a cup of mustard, half a cup of half and half. Don't use butter, don't use milk because it will break. You want to have the half and half. Some salt and pepper, and then we're going to add some white wine, a third of a cup of dry white wine, and I'm using whatever I drink. So don't go and buy kitchen wine, buy white wine that you'll drink. This happens to be from California, and it's a mixture of Pinot Grigio, Chardonnay, and Rieslings. So let me go back to this, and this is looking great. We're going to mix these around a bit. And this is what you're looking for because it's going to continue to cook for a while. But we want to just get some of those sizzles going. And I am going to next add in the wine because you want to burn off the alcohol. Not that it's got a lot of alcohol in here, it's a third of a cup. But the wine has a great sweet flavor that you're adding to this recipe, so you want to put that in right on a hot stove. You don't want to put it in with the chicken broth first and the wine. You want to definitely put the wine in first. Let it aerosolize, you're going to smell it. Oh, it's like having a glass of wine. And then the next thing we're going to do is add the chicken broth. So I use unsalted chicken broth as well, or low salt. And I like this, I forget the brand, Kitchen Basics, which is sold everywhere. I like that. We're going to use 2 cups of it. And I'm going to put that in next. And oops. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do right now is add in the fish. And I'm using haddock today, 2 pounds of haddock. And I'm going to show you that right here. I bought 2 pounds of haddock, and it was, nice long pieces. I did skin the fish. I should do a show on how to skin the fish because that's really helpful to know. But then I cut it into pieces that are like chunks because it's going to shrink. So let me just make sure this is what goes in next. And yes, it is. So the fish is going in next. I'm going to lay it in here, and then I'm going to cover the pan and let this all cook. And it smells really lovely now, but it's going to smell even better. So when we last met, I had just put the fish into the pan with the onions and the carrots and the zucchini and all that great flavor. The fish is cooked. I covered it over. It cooked, took about 8 to 10 minutes to cook nicely. It's flaky, and that's what you're looking for. We're going to finish this up with a few ingredients that I mentioned to you briefly before, but I'm going to remind you. They are the mustard, which is a grainy Dijon mustard. I'm just going to put it throughout here. It's a half a cup. Now, mustard is one of those ingredients that I put it in a lot of stuff, not just on my hot dogs. It's a great emulsifier, which means it holds together oils and vinegars for dressings. It's a great thing to put in dressings. It's great on pork. It's great on chicken. Don't forget about the mustards and get some interesting ones. I have a brother-in-law who makes a recipe that I had used regular Dijon mustard for. He used a cranberry mustard, and it was delicious on a pork tenderloin that he then threw on the grill. I'm using, let's see here, half a cup of half and half. Again, don't use milk because you'll find it will break, and you don't want that to happen. So I'm going to warm this up again here. And we are going to add in some salt and pepper. I tasted it a little bit before, and I think it needs salt because I haven't added any salt. And remember that the chicken broth was unsalted, the butter was unsalted, so you do have to add some salt to this recipe. And I'm going to mix that around now on some relatively moderate heat just to get all those flavors mixed in. And this is the kind of meal that I started to mention. It takes a little bit longer time because you're cutting all of the vegetables, but do yourself a favor and on Saturday or Sunday or some weeknight when you've got a little bit of time, or sometime when you have a little bit of time, cut up some vegetables that you're going to use for the week. You're always going to use, carrots, onions, red peppers, and have have them ready for anything you want to make like this. And then when you need to make this, it's so easy. You're just pop, 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 putting everything in. So that is about ready to have the last 2 ingredients added, and that is frozen peas. We are using 1 cup of frozen peas that have sat on the counter long enough that they are basically defrosted. Frozen peas, any frozen vegetable is the closest thing to fresh. And so I love having frozen peas in my freezer all year round because the season is just so short for us here in New England. But this way you can have peas anytime, and the color is just beautiful. And the last thing I'm going to do is add in some fresh dill. Now you can use dried dill easily. I'm adding in 2 tablespoons of chopped fresh dill, which would be about the same as 1 tablespoon dry dill. And dry dill is really good. So don't, here I am wiping my hands in front of you there on camera. Sorry about that. The smell just gets, oh my gosh, it gets so great when you get this dill in here. You got to use the real thing. But winter time comes, I understand you want to make this in a pinch. You say, oh, I've got all the other stuff, but I don't have the dill. Use the dry stuff. It's fine. But do watch your dry ingredients, by the way. Dry herbs get really dull. They don't go bad, they just get dull, so you don't want that to be the case. So that is the dish. We have all of the ingredients in here. Nothing's left on here. It's going to cook for a little while. I'm going to have it cook for about 2 or 3 more minutes to let it blend together. This is one of those recipes that's great the day after. So have it that night, save it for a couple days later, and it will be perfect. So we're going to take one more break, and when we come back, I'm going to make Fiesta Chicken. Really simple recipe. Fast, fast, fast for when you come home. Welcome back. We are moving on to chicken. Now, chicken's one of the most popular things that you can make after work. And this particular recipe comes with a request for pre-cooked chicken. That's even better. So you can buy deli chickens, you can buy, chicken breasts, chicken thighs, whatever. I actually roast my chickens. I roast my chicken breasts or thighs. And I do that again on a weeknight or weekend or whenever I have time. I take chicken breasts on a cookie sheet lined with foil, put a little bit of olive oil. These are boneless chicken breasts. A little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, and herb de Provence. That's the kicker. I always talk about it. It gives you a great flavor, keeps things moist. 375 oven for about 30 minutes. When I'm feeling like I've got a little bit more time, I take the chicken breast that's on the bone, and that's even better because you're using the bone and that keeps them even more moist and more tender. But I do that, so I started out with chicken. And the chicken, the chicken breast looks like this. This is the half of the chicken breast. And I basically take a couple of forks. I used to go ahead and sort of cut the chicken in cubes and thought that looks so lame. It just doesn't look like it's what you want to eat. So I kind of just, the 2-fork method or just your fingers. That's the other way to do it. But this is kind of shredding the chicken, which is much better for something that is going to be used in a tortilla, which is what we're going to do. So this recipe is called Fiesta Chicken. It basically has black beans. You're making your own little tomato salsa, sort of. I'm using, what's it called? I'm using Hunt's no salt added diced tomatoes. So again, I go with the no salt added. Sometimes I don't worry about it, but this time I'm going to go with the no salt added and then again test it because I'm using black beans. There's salt in there. Sour cream, there's salt in there. So I just want to be sure that I'm doing the taste that I want and not the taste that comes with what comes in the can. So let me finish doing this quickly, which is the operative word, right? You're saying, why is she doing all that? I'm going to stop. I'm going to put this in here. And so what we do is we take the chicken, and no need for any oil here. You're going to do this over the stove in a pot. We're going to take a 15-ounce can of black beans that have been rinsed and drained. I love, love, love black beans. You can use other beans if you like kidney beans or black-eyed peas, whatever. We're going to use about a teaspoon of chili powder. That's going to give it a little bit of a kick. And if you want less, use less. That's fine. I'm going to use, whoa, that's great. It got in, but it can't get out. How about that, huh? I can't get out. Okay, we used a little bit less than a teaspoon. And I'm gonna mix that around here, warm everything up, and then I'm gonna add some tomatoes. And this is the can of diced tomatoes with the juices. So we're gonna pour that in there. This is regular diced. Sometimes I use petite diced, which is, you know, a little bit more like tomato sauce, but in this case, I kind of want to see the chunkiness of the tomatoes. Now, I cooked these chickens, you know, earlier today, so they were cold in the refrigerator, and I want to really just basically warm this up. So that's going to get warmed up. I'm going to put a little bit of salt and pepper on it, and I'm going to taste it. And then I'm going to move over to the stove, and I'm going to do a little bit of, so that's like a quarter teaspoon. I don't use a lot of salt. I'm going to move over to the stove and show you what to do with the tortillas. So I like corn tortillas, and if you've got somebody who's gluten-free, corn tortillas are great, but I just like the flavor of them, and I think they're more interesting than flour tortillas. Flour tortillas, they don't taste to me like they should with something that's got a Mexican influence to it. So I'm going to let that just sit there and continue to cook on high. Let's make sure I've got everything in there. Yep. So about 3 or 4 minutes, and now I'm going to go over to the pan here, and I'm going to put a spray of a little bit of a spray just to get the tortilla with some color on it. That's my thought. So I want to just put that there. These are the size. They're in a package here that's, I mean, that's the problem. They come in like 50. I'm not sure I'm going to use 50, but they freeze well. So I'm going to put that there. Just let it get a little bit brown. Test it every once in a while. Flip it over. We're going to let that sit and get a little color to it. Okay, that's looking good. I'm going to taste this though, just make sure that everything has the right flavor going for it. Oh yeah, well that looks great. And it's not too spicy, so that was fine. Oops. Yeah, I'm looking for it just to get warm. Sometimes it'll get a little color, but don't worry if it doesn't have a lot of color on it. We'll let that sit. So the last thing I'm going to do when I get this ready here, I'm going to get a clean board. And I'm going to get rid of all the chicken that's here. And I'm going to get ready to put some sour cream on this at the end. If you want to put some cilantro on this, it would be fabulous. Don't do what I'm doing. Okay, I know I should use the tongs, which I have somewhere here, or a fork. That would be good. That's fine. We're not going to wait for color. I'm going to shut this off. If you want to, you can get them a little browned, but I just wanted it to be warm so that I'm not putting food on here that is not, I'm not putting warm food on something that's ice cold. So that is good. You want this to be dry, which it now is. It absorbed, the chicken absorbed a lot of the fluid of the tomatoes, and that's what you're looking for. So this is like super easy, and I know it sounds so simple, but when you're coming home from work, you want something really simple to eat, right? Right. So this is the kind of thing like today, every fish taco, every restaurant has fish tacos, and they all start with cabbage. I'm not a big cabbage person. I'll eat them. I'll eat it. I love it. But to me, this has got black beans and tomatoes, and I would throw some cilantro on here, but I don't have any. And chicken, which has got a little bit of the herb de Provence in it. And then the last thing you do is you throw a dollop. And what is a dollop, you say? A dollop is as big as you want it to be. Like, I love sour cream. So I'm going to put that right on there, and I'm going to do this, and I'm actually going to take a bite on camera because I'm really hungry. Yum. Okay, we're going to take a break so I can eat the rest of this. Welcome back to Meet Me in the Kitchen. I'm Connie Spiros, and we've been doing easy weeknight meals, and hopefully you found them to be easy. And I will tell you, that last one I made, it's simple, simple, simple. But that chicken was just right, and the sauce, the beans, the sour cream, all of it, really yummy. And very, very easy. And obviously, you always add something to these, like throw whatever you like in there. And I mentioned cilantro as an herb that's just perfect with that for the flavor that you're looking for. But now we're gonna move to shrimp. So this is probably the first show I've done 2 fish entrees in one show. We're gonna move to shrimp, and it's one of my favorites again, as all of these are. This is shrimp with artichokes, and it has some tomatoes in it. I'm not a big fan of tomatoes with fish, but with this recipe it really goes well, I think. I want to talk a little bit, actually I'm going to start this up because I should not be talking while something has to cook. So what I have here, this is a recipe for 4 people. I'm making more than that because I've got some people I want to share with. So I'm going to give you the recipe ingredients for 4, and that is to start with, first of all, just about a tablespoon of olive oil and 1 pound of shrimp. And I buy shrimp frozen, again, because it's, you know, it's like closest to fresh, and I want to have it whenever I want it. So I have a big bag, a 2-pound bag of wild American shrimp. I like it, that I know where it's from. It's the Gulf Coast, and it's wild fish, and I like that idea as well. These are probably like 10 or 12 to the pound. No, they're going to be more than that. Maybe 15 to the pound, because I've got probably about 10 or 15 here. So I'm going to add this with the oil, and it's on hot, and I want to just make sure I hear it sizzle, which it might not be ready to do yet, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to add to that some red pepper flakes. Whatever you like in terms of, you know, taste, heat, use as much as you like, but I would say use some of it because it really does give a nice kick to the flavor. We're going to be adding a lot of different flavors here, and this really helps just kick it up. And a clove of garlic. So I'm actually going to throw the clove of garlic in, and the key with garlic, as you may know, is you can cook it at about 30 seconds before it starts to burn. And so I usually try and put something in with it. I'm going to get my nonstick here. Try and put something in with it if it's going to be in here longer than 30 seconds, which is it is. So and it's sizzling. So now I'm going to put this shrimp in. And again, I've got more than a pound in here, so don't look at this and think like, it looks like way more than what she said. If for 4 people, a pound of this size shrimp should be just fine. And garlic and shrimp, you know, you don't want to overpower the flavor of shrimp by having too much garlic, but you need something, because shrimp is great, but it doesn't have a whole lot of flavor of its own. It's what you put with it that it absorbs so beautifully. So we're going to let that sit there, and we're going to let them get pink, and then we will throw something on top of that, you know, flip it over, and then put in the tomatoes and the artichoke hearts. This is going to be about 3 minutes, 2-3 minutes, so I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about artichoke hearts. So artichoke hearts are great. I love them in salads. I buy the marinated ones, and I throw them in everything I cook. They come in 2 types, quartered and whole. I don't know why they bother, because it's the same thing, and all of us know how to cut an artichoke heart in quarters. But I bought a few of each, and I'm going to just, what I usually do is just exactly cut it in quarters. Sometimes I cut it in smaller pieces, but I do love artichoke hearts nice and chunky. So that's the artichoke hearts. I just have a few also that are right out of the can, and that come in quarters. So I'll throw a few of those in as well, because I want to make sure I've got a lot of artichoke hearts. The next thing I want to do is chop up some of this. Oh, I didn't put the red pepper flakes in. So what I do with the red pepper flakes is I kind of crunch them up as I put them in. Some people don't like the idea of having a big red pepper flake on their shrimp, but I try not to hang out with those people. So we're going to flip these over and try and get them to flip over. And of course this ends up being like an individual turn, because I can't do that. I can't flip the pan like I would if it were sitting on my stove, if you know what I mean. So give me a minute to just do this. Have a sip of that glass of wine or that glass of water that you're enjoying while you're watching this. We're going to put some of that wine in here in a minute. So I do want to just try and get them cooked on both sides. So take the time to just flip them all over and make sure that they're getting pink on both. And you know, shrimp takes about 3 to 4 minutes, and that's it. It is so fast cooking, which is one of the reasons it's such a great thing. Fish in general, I really highly recommend that you cook fish. If you're somebody who has to have dinner on the table pretty quickly after you come home, fish is so fast. And I love eating fish. I think most people do now. It's really gained in interest from a lot of people. So And kids are even eating it now too, which is great. So, okay, those are all turned over. I'm gonna chop up my parsley. This is from my garden. And this is the, I usually like flat leaf, but this is really fun curly leaf as well. And I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons in there. So I'm just going to give it a little light chop. And those shrimp look like they're ready for the artichoke hearts and for the tomatoes. Oh, and the smell is great. The garlic smell is great. This is the dish, okay? It's pretty easy. We're going to add a little bit of wine and a little bit of lemon juice, but that's about it. So let me just get this cooking a little bit here. I'm going to finish chopping my parsley, and it's a very, very quick dish that will hopefully please your family. And it goes over whatever you want. Pasta, it can go over rice, whatever, any kind of grain if you want that to be the pasta. I mean, serve it with your shrimp. You can have any of those. Okay, we are about to finish this up. I'm going to add the wine in there because that looks like it's just right. So that's been like 2 minutes. I'm going to put in let's see here, how much wine? About a half a cup of wine. Again, I'm putting more. So half a cup of wine for 4 people. Let that boil off as we did before. And it's, again, this is a little bit of a slower cooktop. So I'm going to keep squeezing the lemons. And the last thing we do is we put parsley, 2 tablespoons I think it is. Let's see here, how much parsley? Yeah, 2 tablespoons of chopped fresh parsley. This is one of those cases I wouldn't use the dried parsley unless you really have to. Every grocery store has fresh parsley at this time of year. So I would do that. Can smell that wine cooking off, and we're going to end this with a little bit of lemon juice from 1 lemon and a little bit of fresh parsley, and that gives you just a beautiful, beautiful color, and that's it. So I am going to say we're going to take one more last break, and we're going to come back and we're going to show you everything plated, and you can see what we've made today. Okay, we are back with weeknight meals. I'm Connie Spiros. Meet me in the kitchen. And I wanted to show you the perfect color on the tortilla, and it's right here. It is, it sat on the pan for maybe a minute, and I could see it was bubbling a little bit. That's the sign that you want to turn it over, and it's got this lovely brown tone to it. We put some chicken on it and added just a little bit of sour cream, again, a dollop of sour cream. So I want to wrap up and thank you for being with me today. We made 3 things that are easy to make weeknights. With a little bit of advanced chopping, you can make this fish and vegetable stew using haddock. With no time at all and frozen shrimp, you can have shrimp with artichoke hearts, tomatoes, and a little bit of garlic, some chicken broth, and some wine, some white wine. And we finished off with Fiesta Chicken, which is chicken shredded, roasted, or buy it from the deli, with some black beans, tomatoes, some chili powder. Put whatever you like in any of these. These are the base recipes. You add whatever you and your family like to eat and enjoy them with very little time for preparation. This is the kind of thing you want to be doing. So let me thank you for being with us, and let me ask you to meet me in the kitchen next time.